Okay, so I am Lainey. I am the director of the Climate Farm School program, and I am so happy to be joined today by some of our program alumni to share a little insights into what they are up to now after their participation in the program. So I'm gonna first turn it over to one of our alumni, Jamilla. And Jamilla, if you and then each one of you could just share your name, where you are, and what you're doing now after taking the Climate Farm School, and maybe which Climate Farm School course you participated in, that would be great.
So, hi, I'm Jamila Jones. I did my climate farm training in Hudson Valley with Lainey and Ryan. Um, it was an amazing experience. It was my first experience on a farm, other than being a visitor to a farm. And I'm currently located in Springfield, Massachusetts. So before going to Climate Farm School, I was a long-term educator, a teacher, social justice teacher, English teacher, and just someone who was really interested in regenerative agriculture. And I came about Terra and they were my first amazing experience into that world. Um, so since being back, I was formerly an AP, an assistant principal at an urban school in Holyoke, Massachusetts. I've since taken another role in something that is more related to what I did at Climate Farm School. So I'm currently the interim executive director of Eagle Eye Institute, which is located in Peru, Mass, with programming in Holyoke, Mass. And the mission of Eagle Eye Institute is to make nature accessible to all children, and firmly, deeply rooted, getting children, a part of the BIPOC community, back into green spaces and making those
Mm,
spaces accessible to them. Um, I am definitely a lover of nature, but my heart lies in agriculture, regenerative
mm,
agriculture, sustainable foodways, food sovereignty. That's my background. And in this work as interim director, which is fairly new,
mm,
I'm crossing paths with the more business side part of it, such as grant
mm.
writing, working with USDA, working with Mass Audubon, but still being able to
Mm,
get to see kids enjoy nature in our after school programming. And I got to spend
mm.
some time in Peru yesterday in the
Oh,
mountains,
good.
38-degree weather.
Oh,
um, so it's just,
that's amazing.
you know, Climate Farm School for me was just eye-opening. Um, I'm definitely an older adult. I'm 47 years old. And there were just things that I did not know about our agricultural systems, which is kind of funny for me to say because I'm also a classically trained chef, so I deal with food a lot. But it it was just really eye-opening, the dairy process, how animals
Mm,
are either cherished or not cherished during that process, the land acknowledgments. It was just really eye-opening, talking about carbon, things that I just really I'm ashamed, I'm ashamed to say I didn't pay attention to. Um, and now they're so important to me, and I really wholeheartedly believe that had I not had the experience with Terra Do, I would still be kind of navigating the very murky waters of how we treat Mother Nature and how we treat land and who
mm,
has access to it and who doesn't. Um,
mm,
so
mhm, mhm.
I don't know
Absolutely.
if there's anything
Well, it's
you
so,
ask me, lady.
yeah, it's so inspiring that you're bringing some of that knowledge that you gained to the next generation. And that's actually what got me started in this space, was working with middle school youth in Boston on the East Coast and realizing these huge gaps that exist in their knowledge, and then feeling like I had these gaps in knowledge, so I had to go back to grad school to fill these gaps. And it took a long time actually. And so, I mean, one of the hopes with Climate Farm School is that in just a week's time living and working and learning on a farm, you can gain a lot of insights and sort of catalyze these further learning experiences for yourselves and for youth and for your communities. So it's congrats on the new role. It's really exciting. I'll be paying attention to how it goes and supporting however I can.
The other thing I wanted to mention is really looking at farming and land stewardship as a way of creating therapeutic spaces for people as well. It
Mhm,
really helped
mhm,
me through some traumatic experiences. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I can imagine that the programs that Eagle Eye is hosting for youth are definitely going to have some of those effects. And I love that it's not just forest and like, sort of nature removed from humans, but integrating agriculture and food production into our experience of nature as people is just seems like so wonderful and needed. So excited for Eagle Eye, excited for you.
thank you.
And we'll turn it over to Ash to share where you're coming from.
Yeah. Hi, Lainey. Can you give me just 1 second? I'm actually at my destination, so I'd like to park to talk
Oh,
to you
yeah.
instead of staring at you.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go to Sarah and then we'll come back to you, Ash. How about that?
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I remember all the prompt questions, but I'm
I can
Sarah.
remind you too.
Yeah, the farm school, right? Course. So I was in climate farm school in the spring of 21 last year at Green Valley Farm, which with Ryan and Lainey as well, and a bunch of other interesting folks. And at that time, I was working as a service design researcher for the city of Toronto. And my background is in service design and consulting. And prior to that, anthropology. And shortly after farm school, I was awarded a fellowship, which is really exciting. And so that's still what I'm doing now. So in August of 21, I moved to Wichita, Kansas. And the fellowship is under a group called Open Team, which stands for Open Technology Ecosystem for Agricultural Management. It's quite a mouthful. Took me a few tries to get that one right, but it's essentially an effort to create an ecosystem of digital tools for producers and other land stewards or even technical service providers that fosters farmer sovereignty, data sovereignty, and also increases access to agricultural knowledge. The end goal is for farmers to be able to enter data once and use it across many different programs or for many different endeavors like grant writing or submitting data to receive funds, things like that. That's the long-term goal. And so with that, I also want to say Open Team is a project of Wolf's Neck Center for Ag and the Environment, and that's based in Maine. And so I'm just mentioning that because more folks, I think, are familiar with that name, maybe. And then, so with this fellowship, I'm using a collection of digital tools, but I'm using it at a specific hub. And so I'm embedded with a General Mills agricultural research team, and it's their team that works on regenerative ag in their supply sheds. And they have a Northern Plains supply. They have supply sheds all over the world. The one I'm in is in the Southern Plains in Kansas. And I work out of a conservation district, actually. And in that conservation district office, I'm also right next to NRCS, FSA, and a watershed group, a RAPS program, and also some really cool range specialists. So I'm just in the middle of everything, and it's very exciting. And I'm learning. I can just go sit there and learn by osmosis. Yeah, so currently, I guess I could just talk about my current project and then probably stop there. I am collecting data. I'm collecting 2022 farm management data for 25 different producers who are implementing regenerative principles on their farms in Kansas. These are large commodity crop farmers: wheat, soybeans, corn, canola. but also sorghum, which is really exciting, and alfalfa. Love it. And so, yeah, I'm collecting their data and I'm using open team tools. So I'm also working with like developers and tech teams to say, hey, maybe you want to change this tool this way, or I need it to work this way. And so it's in constant development. And then I'm taking the data I've collected, and I'm actually on the General Mills side, I am kind of being a human stopgap for data transfer to a different tool that is going to model that data and generate carbon inset credits, essentially, for General Mills and payments to those farmers. And that's called the Ecosystem Services Market Consortium. And with all of that mouthful, I'll just stop because we could go down a rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh, that is so fascinating. You really are in like the belly of the beast of like US agriculture, it feels like, Sarah. And yeah, and I just have one out of curiosity follow-up question, which is after the fellowship period ends, which I think I don't know exactly when the ending is, but what are you sort of ideally hoping, ideal scenario to do next?
Tara Duke could hire me. I'm just kidding. But
Kind of
I love
cool.
yeah, I
I
love
think we're
working.
all hoping for that.
Yeah. Do Kansas Climate Farm School, please. I think I'm actually have been offered, it's been suggested to me follow-on contracts with both Wolf's Neck Center and General Mills. My goal is to move back to Toronto, actually, where I have an apartment, I generally live. And I think a strategic role in the global, possibly in an impact team with the regenerative ag group at General Mills might open up. So that's what I'm hoping to do. But I'm also already doing some other contracts for Wolf's Neck Center because, as we all know, the Climate Smart commodities grants are rolling in. And so they have a lot of additional work for creating a Climate Smart ag connector that I'm doing research for. Yeah.
Amazing. So cool. Well, yes, I do have aspirations of Climate Farm School program growth and basically hiring all of you in the future. So we'll keep that on the back burner for now until we become, like rolling in the investment monies. But anyways, Ash, I'll turn it over to you to share a little bit of your story and what you're up to now.
Yeah, thanks, Lainey. Hi, my name is Ash. I use she, her pronouns. I live in Seattle right now, and I was part of the pilot Climate Farm School here in the San Juans. I think much like Jamilla, I had been working in big food for the better part of the last decade, I would say. And I had, despite working on the commercial development of products in the food space, I had not ever been that close to our actual food system. So I think for me, I like to say Climate Farm School found me at a time where I was looking for more values aligned work. I had quit my job and I was looking to do more projects that were more values aligned for me in the space of climate action. I wouldn't say climate tech necessarily because I don't have a tech background. I've worked in tech on the business side of things, and my experience has mostly been in business roles. So for me, going to farm school was really a way to deepen my own understanding of food. For most of my adult life, I'm someone who only learned to cook as an adult. After moving to the US, and I've spent most of my life here in the US, most of my adult life here in the US. So I think for me, it really started to unlock connections, not just with our food systems and food ways that exist in this new place that I call home, but also just ways of thinking about my consumption and what I didn't know. And there were so many amazing things just in working with the soil and, learning from all of these other experiences. I loved that there were people in my cohort that had such varied backgrounds. I think we had someone who was a communications person, someone who was a designer, but had done like some significant amount of work in on farm. And then we had you, Lainey, and then we had a couple people who brought their children along. It was just such a different way of experiencing learning. And it broke open so many ways to think about just how we function in the world and the macro systems too, which is kind of overwhelming because you're like, oh, what the hell? I have so much to change, but what can I do as a person? So there's a lot of conflict, I think, that comes with it. But being engaged in a process of learning that left space for all those questions and allowed each of us to come to those questions and answers by ourselves was amazing. Right now, I run I came away from Climate Farm School knowing that I wanted to work in food and specifically regenerative ag. So it led me to founding my current company. So I'm the CEO and founder of Justly Co. We are a regenerative food company that's rooted in cultural fusion. Fusion for us looks like using grains and legumes and heirloom small grains, essentially, that grow right here in North America, and dipping into my own sort of food ways as a queer person, as a woman of color, as an immigrant, and using what's available here with all of these amazing flavors and ways of cooking and thinking about these grains. I started out actually in one of the most amazing things for me was coming out of farm school. There was still so much support. Lainey, I love that you and Ryan and Gary were so up for the kind of experimentation phase that I was in. We started out just hosting these climate dinners. And it was so cool because that was so instrumental in me learning not just what I wanted to do, but also where consumers and people who were like me before farm school were struggling with understanding the food system and participating in more sustainable eating. I think for me, it helped me and my company come to this place where our job now, although we started with, yes, we want to just help farmers connect with consumers, the way in which we do that has changed so much. And right now, the way we do that is through product, in addition to some of these virtual and in-person experiences. So I cannot say enough of the things about if you have the slightest interest in learning about our foodways and our food systems, and if you have big pressing questions, farm school is where you need to be.
Amazing. And I will just give a huge shout out for Ash's chilas mix that Ojasvi makes. They are delicious, and we ate them at Climate Farm School the past 2 weeks, and people love them. I mean, I think we had a few participants who were from India originally who connected with them on a deeper personal and cultural level. And then just like everyone from my 10-month-old daughter to, you know, all of the people in the room were like, these are amazing. So thank you for creating a regeneratively sourced and delicious product. It's so welcome.
Of course. Thank you for incorporating it in farm school. It means so much.
It was fun. Yeah, no, it was really fun. Yeah, well, thank you all for sharing these stories. I'm gonna pause the recording here for now.